Dear children, good morning. In our second session, we are left with the last two paragraphs of the lesson on Nelson Mandela. The first paragraph reads as, "But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self respect that animated my life, that transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life loving man to live like a monk. I am no more virtuous or self sacrificing than the next man. But I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. In this paragraph, we can see that as he grew in age, or with an increasing level of maturity attained with the passage of time and an increased awareness, Mandela could see that he was not the only person suffering from the lack of freedom to lead a normal, lawful life. Even his fellow African people, whom he calls his brothers and sisters, were too suffering from a severe curtailment of their freedom by the racist government. Now he could identify himself with the black African people at large. Mandela could now understand that it was the common policy of apartheid or racial discrimination followed by the government based on the color of the skin that was the cause of the suffering of everyone who looked like him, or in other words, the black people. It was then that he joined the African National Congress to fight for the common cause of all Africans. Now, the hunger or the intense desire for his personal freedom had become the greater hunger for the freedom of the African people from oppression. The pain and suffering of the people had become his own pain and suffering. The fire of a mass leader had been ignited inside him. The intense desire in Mandela for the freedom of the fellow Africans so that they could live their lives with honor and self respect animated or gave vigor and zest to his life. This desire for freedom transformed or thoroughly changed a frightened young man into a bold one. It was as if Mandela was inspired by the famous saying, "Yesterday I dared to struggle, today I dare to win." Circumstances revealed the bold man in him. Mandela further says that a desire for freedom drove or compelled a law abiding or a law respecting lawyer to become a criminal. Laws made by the white government were designed to oppress the black people. And under such laws, it was impossible to live a life of dignity and self respect. And in the fight for the freedom of his people, Mandela had to go against such discriminatory laws. He thus became a criminal under the oppressive government. Mandela then says that the desire for freedom turned a family loving husband into a man without a home. Like every worldly person, Mandela too loved his family, but his anti government activities turned him into a lawbreaker. The government would not tolerate his activities to bring justice to his people. He would be arrested and severely punished. To escape the unjust punishment, he had to lead a twilight existence. That means a life of secrecy, a life in hiding, away from his family. He also says that he was a life-loving man, but was forced to live like a monk. Mandela, like any person, wanted to live a good life. He wanted to live like a successful man in his chosen field. He wanted to live a prosperous life by earning his keep. He wanted his family to live in prosperity. He would have liked to see his children progress in life. But that was not to be. He was forced to live like a monk. Monks are people who, because of their commitment to religion, live a simple life under vows of poverty apart from general society. And Mandela's religion was freedom. Freedom from an unjust rule. And he wanted that freedom for his fellow countrymen. Though an extraordinarily great man who sacrificed his entire life for the well-being of his people, Mandela very modestly says that he is not more virtuous, meaning righteous or honest or self-sacrificing, than a common citizen. Here Mandela speaks from the viewpoint of a common man who simply wants to enjoy his basic rights and freedoms. But the great man that Mandela was, he realized that he could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms he was allowed because he knew that his people, or the black South Africans, were not free. Mandela calls the freedoms poor and limited because the blacks did not enjoy equal political, social, and economic rights as the whites, such as the blacks had no right to vote in elections. Mandela says that freedom is indivisible. What he means to say is that all people should enjoy freedom equally. It cannot be that some people enjoy certain rights while the same rights are denied to a certain class of people. Mandela says that change or restrictions on or lack of freedom, even on one black South African, would mean change or lack of freedom on all South Africans. Identifying himself with the entire South African people, he goes on to say that chains or restrictions on the people of South Africa were chains or restrictions on himself. As a true leader, he feels for each and every oppressed person in his nation. In the last paragraph of the lesson, which reads as follows: I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness. I'm not truly free if I'm taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. Here, Mandela talks like a man who has overcome all psychological or mental limitations that an ordinary man is subject to. He talks like a man whose mental horizons have expanded to such an extent that it can encompass or enclose within it all humanity. He has overcome all limitations and looks upon entire humanity as one family, and has empathy or compassion, or in other words, sympathy for both oppressor and oppressed alike. Therefore, he says that he knew that the oppressor must be liberated or freed just as surely as the oppressed. Mandela says that a man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He means to say that the white rulers of South Africa are themselves not free. They are prisoners of their narrow outlook towards life because of their intense dislike of the colored people. The whites, according to him, are locked behind the bars of prejudice or ill feeling towards the blacks without any good reason. The whites are narrow minded because they simply cannot accept the idea that the blacks too deserve to be free and they too have the right to live a life of dignity and self respect, just like them. Mandela further says that a person is not truly free if he is taking away someone else's freedom. In other words, the whites are themselves not truly free because they have taken away the freedom of the blacks. The whites themselves lack freedom, just like the blacks, whose freedom has been denied to them. But the oppressed and the oppressor, both the oppressed and the oppressor, are robbed of their humanity. The oppressed, because of the injustice or cruelty heaped upon him, develops hatred for the oppressor. The quality of being humane or kind or compassionate is taken away from him. In a like way, the oppressor, by allowing himself to be filled up with hatred or intense dislike for others, loses his humanity. He can no longer remain kind and compassionate. Both the situations are intertwined like threads in a fabric. Mandela, in a way, appeals to all humanity to give love and respect, and in return, take love and respect. So, children, your lesson on Mandela is complete. Now, I'm giving you the meanings of some words. Obligations, duty or responsibility. Civil, courteous, respectful, well-mannered, or polite. Humane, benevolent, compassionate. Isolate, place apart or alone, cut off from society. Inevitable, unavoidable, bound to occur. Inevitably is an adverb form of the word. Ribbed, tear or cut a thing quickly or forcibly away or apart. Rebellion, open resistance to authority, revolt. Comply, act in accordance with a wish, command, etc. Resistance, refusal to comply. Abide, act in accordance or harmony with. Custom means tradition. Yearned, have a strong emotional longing or intense desire. Keep, maintenance or livelihood. Honorable, bringing honor to its possessor. Basic means essential. Twin, each of a closely related or associated pair. Then, dignity, the personal quality of being worthy of honor. Animate, to give vigor and zest to. Virtuous, honorable, righteous, honest, or principled. Indivisible, not capable of being divided physically or mentally. Oppress, keep someone in subjection and hardship, especially by the unjust exercise of authority. Narrow-minded, the quality of being narrow-minded means unwilling to accept ideas that are different from your own. Rob means if someone is robbed of a quality, that quality is taken away. Humanity means the quality of being humane or kind or compassionate. Drove means compelled.